mind, body, machine. This is the Dynamic Defense Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dynamic Defense podcast where we go over the various aspects and dynamics of self-defense. Today, we're going to be going over home defense specifically. And before we get to that, I am Jordan Burke. I'm your host. I am a prior police officer, former police officer, moved into, we'll call it the private sector. And I am joined by my co-host, Justin Gillespie, who is a current police officer, as well as he has a lot of other cool stuff under his belt.
Hey, I'm Justin. Yeah, I'm a FBI certified firearm instructor. Been a police officer for about 5 years now. And I was in the Army before that for approximately 8 years.
A lot of good experience. And as I mentioned before, we're going to be covering home defense specifically. It's something that we came in contact a lot with back when we were working together. It's something that he still comes into contact with, and it's something that may happen to you. I mean, we have roughly 2.5 million burglaries a year. 66% of those are home break-ins. So it's not like this is an uncommon thing. How many burglaries do you think you worked last week alone, or even last month? If you can give people a general idea.
Well, last week was a pretty interesting week at work. I'm training a rookie right now. We approximately worked about 3 burglaries, one of which was a burglary in progress at a high school, of which we had to make entry through the roof where the burglar made entry at, which was pretty cool. But yeah, it's a very common occurrence. Most burglaries that I've experienced are residential.
So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and why don't we do it this way? We'll do a walkthrough to where we'll start at the curb, because we've had this conversation before and there's so many different aspects that this could really be cut up into multiple shows, but we're going to try to get a good nutshell in this one show. So why don't we start at the curb and go forward? And
well, yeah, let's talk about it from the burglar's perspective. I mean, when they're standing at the curb and they look at your house, what are they seeing? Are they seeing a lot of floodlights? Are they seeing cameras? Are they seeing a really dark house where they feel like they're not going to be seen from the street? And, you know, first things first, they're going to case it. They're going to be riding your neighborhood. They're going to determine which houses are going to be soft targets or an easy house to break into, or a hard target, which is not such an easy house to break into.
That's a really good point. What you said about casing, we got a lot of people, folks, if you're not on the Nextdoor app, I would suggest it. It's kind of a social media site where you can interact with your neighbors. It's very helpful because a lot of people will post on there, hey, I saw this car, or at least in my neighborhood. Hey, I saw this car, I didn't recognize it. They will case your neighborhood and look for the best houses to break into, the easiest houses to break into. It's absolutely right. So to piggyback on what Justin said, I mean, yeah, lights, cameras, I mean, even bushes, trimming back your bushes. But you had mentioned in our last conversation about, especially around holidays, one of the biggest no-nos that people do that is basically an invitation to get their house broken into.
Oh yeah, having your 55-inch 4K HD TV box sitting right out there on the street, saying, "Hey, look,
all the presents." Yeah,
look at my new PlayStation 4 just chilling up in this house.
At any time, I mean, and that goes throughout the year. I got a new pressure washer not too long ago, and I thought, you know what, I could throw this out there. It's not Christmas time, but I broke down the box and I made it fit in my trash can best I could. Well, we recycle. I don't want to get any emails from anybody. We do recycle, but I broke down the box. I didn't want people to see it and think, oh yeah, they got some cool stuff at the house.
Right.
So basically it boils down to people need to make sure that their house is well lit. So there's good exterior lights. Motion lights are fairly inexpensive. LED lights are getting cheaper and cheaper, and they're very bright. Trimming the hedges is a huge one. You know, don't give the criminal a place to hide behind. So if unfortunately they try to break in during the night under the cover of darkness, if a car is going by, they're going to try to hide behind something. Don't give them a place to hide, right? It doesn't mean you have to get rid of your bushes. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of your trees. Just make sure that they're trimmed. So lights, camera. I mean, I got cameras on my house. That's one of the things I recommend to everybody is cameras. And those are becoming more affordable. What else do you think?
I mean, if you live in a neighborhood that you know is rough, another good aspect to have on your house is, burglar bars across your windows, a security door outside of your door that'll keep people from. I mean, when they see that from the street, they think, I'm going to hit this house over here that's got a window 2 inches off the ground with no bars on it.
Okay, so moving forward, now we've gone from the street to the house. Let's talk about different ways that we can, that are not so much like the bushes and the lights, but things. Let's say someone has cased the neighborhood, they've seen your house and they've said, that's the house I want to pick. What can stop them once they get closer? So let's say that they're now in your yard or at your front door.
What I utilize most of the time is motion detective LED lights. That way, when they walk into your driveway, or they walk into my driveway specifically, once that motion's picked up, the whole driveway is lit up like it's daytime now. And a lot of people will think, "Oh no, I don't want to be seen," and they'll, that could deter them at that point. If it's during the daytime, it's simple things. And, about, I'd say 80% of burglaries that I come in contact with, the door's kicked. And that's how they gain entry to the house. So
yeah, it's 95% of all home invasions. 95%, almost 100% of all home invasions require some sort of forceful entry. So that's breaking into a window, picking a lock, or kicking a door. And that's the one that you and I came into all the time.
Yeah, doors are just, you think your door is solid, but the weak point of your door, the latch, that's only being held there by a couple inches of wood. That's it. That's all that's standing in between someone gaining entry to your house and, them not.
I want to throw a suggestion out there. Alarm signs are really helpful. So if you're advertising that you have some sort of alarm system, that's really helpful for people. And one of the tips that I like to give out is that you don't have to have an alarm system to have an alarm sign. So what I mean is you can go onto Amazon and go buy like Brinks home security signs and stickers. You can get a pack of them. You can plaster it all over your house. The criminal is not going to know any different. And to steal a quote from somebody, you don't have any obligation to tell bad people the truth. So people, again, you do not have any obligation to tell a bad person the truth. Anyone who's trying to break into your house, you need to do whatever you can to protect not just your house, but your loved ones or you if you're potentially inside. So go out and find, you can even go to alarm companies. I know some of them will let you buy signs outright. Window locks is really a big thing. To your point with the door. Real quick, dog bowls. You don't even have to have a dog. I knew a guy who kept out he went and bought one of those big dog bowls and a bone and a matching dog house, right? Kept it in his backyard. And that's a deterrent because a lot of those criminals, I actually can't think of any time that I responded to a house that was broken into that had a dog in the backyard. Maybe they went through the front door, but the dog was a deterrent, right? So they don't mess with dogs.
Dogs are huge deterrents. Even as a police officer, if I have to go into a house and there's a dog in there, it's always in the back of my head, like, am I about to get bit? You got to do what you got to do.
And you love dogs. I love dogs too, but you never know. They don't know me. So
also, you talk about signage. You could put up a beware of dog sign without a dog.
Yeah, that's a good point.
My dog personally, anytime he hears a doorbell ring or I can knock on the daggone wall and he'll start losing his mind. But he's not going to do nothing when anybody gets inside but turn into just get petted.
Well, still, that may be enough to keep people away. People don't understand that criminals, and they just don't. Any type of deterrent you can get, you should get. One more thing I want to give a piece of advice because we're getting close to break goes back to the alarm signage. So I'm going to try to uncomplicate this because it's kind of a complicated procedure. Let's say that you have a security system by Brinks Home Security. I would highly suggest that you go out and you get a sign from a different security company. So if I have a Brinks security system, I'm going to go get a Vivint sign. Or if I have a Simply Safe security system, I'll get a Brinks sign. Or if I have, goes on and on. Reason being is, though what I'm about to say is very rare, it does happen, where a criminal knows enough about security systems, they will go around to wherever your box is, your electrical panels. And if they know what kind of security system you have, it is almost like a roadmap to disarming it. So some of these alarm systems are hardwired, and if you cut the power to them, they're supposed to alert, but not all of them do. So it's helpful to have a roadmap to a non-existent security system in the sense of having a different sign. That's a little bit, super secret spy stuff there, but it's something that you can do that may save you a whole lot of trouble. We're going to go ahead and go to a break here in a second because I really want to get into now talking about different ways to secure the home. We've gone from the street up to the yard. We're making an approach as if we're a criminal. And now we're going to get to how do they get in? We kind of talked about it a minute ago with kicking in the door, but there's a lot of important information there that needs to be broken down. And so we'll get to that right after the break.
Hey guys, let's take a second to talk about our sponsor. It's youtube.com/Radix Tactical, RADIX Tactical, youtube.com/Radix Tactical. Now, if you're anything like me, you do a lot of research before you spend money on something. You go on Amazon, you read the reviews, you probably watch a few YouTube videos on whatever product you're looking to purchase. Now, that is incredibly true, especially when we're talking about something as important as a holster. Well, good news for you, at Radix Tactical on YouTube, we have a holster torture test series. Now, this isn't your goofy torture test where they're freezing stuff, dragging it behind a car, running it over. No, this is a hyper-realistic, real-world situation. What would happen if you were standing in line, someone came up behind you and tried to take your gun out of your holster? Well, that is the test we put these holsters through, and you might be surprised at the outcome. The only way to find out what happens and which holster reigns supreme is to go to youtube.com/Radix Tactical and check it out. We'll be waiting.
Hey guys, we're back from the break. Now, you had mentioned that most of these houses the doors are kicked in, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I was there when you kicked a door in and you kicked the frame in. So
yeah,
you're a big, strong dude. So it wasn't that difficult for you, but to give people perspective, I've done it and I am about half your size and I've kicked in doors. It's really, really easy to kick in doors. And so you had mentioned that essentially the reason it's so easy is that the only thing that's holding your door closed is the door's deadbolt. The deadbolt slides into a plate in the frame, and that plate is held in by screws that are maybe half an inch, if not less. And that's next to nothing. After that, there's dead space, right? So if anybody's ever hung a door, they're aware of this. The reason those get kicked in is because that wood on the frame is so thin that it's really not doing anything. I mean, we're going to put out a video at some point about this specifically and how easy it is to kick in doors and what to do about it. So do you want to kind of explain the process about the one thing that we recommend to everybody, especially if they can't get an alarm system, lights, cameras, all that kind of stuff?
So you can go to any Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever your store of choice is. You can get what's called 3-inch deck screws. Now, it's really just a long, thick screw that you can screw into the plate, and that attaches your plate, your door frame, to the actual frame of the house. So now you've got a little bit more play. Whether it's not just a 1/2-inch screw that's going to come out pretty easily. It's going to be more or less attached to the framework of the house now.
Yeah. The surrounding frame, the joist, the frame, the 2x4s, right?
Yeah, the 2x4s.
They call them deck screws because they literally go in. They use them to build decks, so they're heavy duty. They're stronger grade steel, if I understand the process correctly. They're usually like a yellow or green is where you can find them. And I know for me, if you go to Home Depot, if that's where you shop, go back to the lumber. They're almost always in the lumber aisle where the raw wood is. They're right there. So you can pick up a box of those for fairly cheap. And one of the things that I did is that I put deck screws into the plates on all of my exterior doors. And then I also went and I got what's called door kicker kits. And these kits will take your existing plate that your deadbolt goes into, and they'll put another metal plate that's thicker on top of it and much longer. Different companies will do it in different ways, but that's generally how it's done. And then you'll zip some more deck screws in there. So I think one of the kits that I have has roughly, I don't know, I'm just going to say 6 more deck screws in there. So I essentially have 6.
Half a dozen.
Yeah. So I think I have like 8 deck screws just in this one portion that holds the deadbolt, and it holds the little, I don't know what the other piece is, the actual doorknob, that like tongue that comes out.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that it extends it up the actual door instead of it just being that one little, I'd say about an inch thick plate or an inch long plate. It extends it further up the door.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's almost as if you're putting metal armor or steel armor on your door.
Right.
And if you do what I have, which I have metal exterior doors, so they're not, you can't just, they're not flimsy wood doors or hollow core.
That's the type I kicked, and I think I kind of broke the door in half also. So
yes,
the flimsy wood doors, those are no good either.
Yeah, they make sure when you're buying doors to replace, make sure it is an exterior door. They make those a certain way for a reason.
Right.
But yeah, so I'll do that. And you have to basically drive a truck through that door to get it open if you're trying to break in.
And also you can buy, I saw it on Amazon the other day. It's it's just a little magnetic sensor. You got one part on the door, one part on the door frame, and it attaches to an audible alarm.
Oh yeah.
And
those are really inexpensive, but they're very effective.
Yeah. And you can put them on doors, windows, whatever. And most of the time, when I'm working a burglary and there's an audible alarm, it turns into just damaged property because they break the door in, and that alarm immediately makes them flee because you're suddenly drawing attention to the fact that the house is being broken into because everybody in a block and a half is going to hear that alarm go off.
Let's say somehow they got past the door and now we're dealing with like alarm systems or whatever. One of the things that's useful is to have a wireless alarm system, because you and I have seen couple times where the alarm pad is right near the door and they'll tear the pad down. I don't think that ended up doing anything to the alarm. I'm fairly certain the alarm still sounded, but if you're just talking about making your life a little bit easier after someone's broken into your house,
putting everything back together.
Yeah. This big old hole in your wall, it's easier to have a wireless pad. So the other thing is, before I forget, window locks, the locks on your windows are actually very effective. The way that they're going to get in, at least in my experience from what I've seen, is they're either going to break the window or the window's been unlocked. Breaking is pretty rare because nobody wants to climb through broken glass. Or they'll break a window like a top if it's one that slides up. Speaking of Amazon, you can get these little
Amazon's a great tool.
It's phenomenal. Just go to Amazon and type in window locks. You'll find what I'm looking for. It's something that has basically it clamps onto the frame of the window. So some people will put in dowels. That wooden dowels work, but they can get knocked over. So if someone's banging on the window, they can eventually fall out. These suckers will bolt onto your window frame, and they're not going to be able to slide the window open. And if they do break it and they want to go through broken glass, well, then hopefully they get cut up and decide.
And then you have DNA evidence.
Yeah, there you go. There's that too. So we basically went all the way forward. I hate to go back, but let's talk real quick about different ways that people case the house. Now that I'm thinking about it, so we went from casing at the street, we went to the yard, we went to the front door, making possible entry, and we'll come back to if they actually get inside because we got some time left. But real quickly before I forget, how people case neighborhoods. So they'll drive around. We've seen that. If you see a strange car in your neighborhood, if you see someone you don't recognize, you should know your neighborhood better than anybody else. Please, 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 please call the police. Please.
That's what they get paid to do. I mean, you're not going to bother the police. That's the thing.
No.
A lot of people are afraid to call them because they don't want to bother them. No, your taxpayer dollars are going for them to be there for you. And that's how I feel personally as a police officer. Casing the neighborhood, there's several different methods. One of the more common ones I've seen pop up is people will be dressed up as like a AT&T salesman or an ADT salesman. Hey, it's a security guy. Of course he's not, trying to case the neighborhood, but all they got to do is get a clipboard and a T-shirt and here we go. We're casing the neighborhood. We'll see who's home during what times of the day. Who you can peek in windows and go ahead and kind of draw up a plan on what you're going to do when you get in that house.
Yep. Door-to-door salesman is huge. One of the things that I really liked is the video doorbell cameras. So say you don't want to buy a security system, save up for one of those. They're getting cheaper. There's so many companies coming out with them now that it's all getting cheaper. But I remember we had a house. We had 2 houses at the time. We were in the transition of moving, so it's not, it's not like we own 2 houses, but we were moving from one to the other, and they were about 200 miles away from, about 100 miles away from each other. We were at one of them, and somebody rang the doorbell at the other one. Well, at the other one, I had the Ring doorbell camera. It was not a sponsor, but I've used it in the past and I've liked it. And I was able to hop on my phone right then and there and talk to the person through the camera. Didn't know who they were. Don't know what they wanted. I'm not saying that they were trying to break into the house, but it was at nighttime. It was very strange to have this dude knock on our door in the middle of the night. But he ended up leaving because he thought that we were there because I was able to talk through the camera. And if
a lot
not,
of those are motion sensitive too, as well.
They are.
Yeah. You don't have to actually ring the doorbell for it to cut on. As soon as it detects motion, it'll cut on.
Yep. So let's do a recap then. So now we have pay attention in your neighborhood, be a good neighbor, talk to your neighbors, know who the heck is around your neighborhood, right? If there's any strange cars, call the police. Please, 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 please. They have non-emergency lines for a reason. You don't have to dial 911. Get the non-emergency line. Let them know, hey, I don't mean to bother you guys. This is what I saw. I don't recognize the car. It was a little strange. Listen to that little voice. God gave you that little voice for a reason. Right? Like, your gut's telling you something. You need to listen to it. So there's that. So there's the casing. There's making sure that your house is well lit, making sure that the trees, the shrubs are clear. You're not giving somebody a curtain to hide behind while they're trying to break into your house. There is keeping your trash, especially around Christmas time. Don't give your criminals a shopping list. What else is there?
Making sure you reinforce your door and windows, different tips and tricks, alarm systems, just, little things you can do, even stickers. I've actually gone ahead and ordered some Vivint stickers. I mean, I don't have a Vivint system. Vivint's not a sponsor, but I ordered some of those to put on my windows just to deter people. I mean, it's crazy how easy it is to deter your common everyday burglar. And also something to consider, most burglaries occur when you're at work, not during the night.
That's huge.
Home invasions usually occur at night when people are home. And there's a distinct difference between a home invasion and a burglary. I mean, they're both burglaries, but one's a little bit more violent than the other one.
We'll definitely have an episode on home invasions because that's a whole different animal.
Yes, a whole different animal.
Good. Well, I think that covers it, man. Trying to think if there's anything else. I'm sure that there is, because this is, like I said, this is such a huge topic that we're trying to break into, or we're trying to nutshell into one episode. But if there's anything that we missed, or if there's any good suggestions that anybody has out there, please make sure to message us and leave a comment on this episode. And I'm sure we'll have a video up, this video at some point. You can comment on there. Let us know and start the conversation and work on securing your house. Make cops' jobs a little bit easier. Make sure you can keep your stuff, right, and keep your family protected.
Right, insurance. I have to deal with insurance.
Yeah, that's a pain. Well, that's it for this episode of Dynamic Defense. Everybody, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time. Remember always to be prepared, stay vigilant, and remember that you are your first line of defense.